Alrighty, so this is Decent We the People News. Good okie. Let me kind of adjust this a little bit. I don't know if I could technically do it. There we go. Maybe. Maybe not. Who knows? Alright. This is We the People News, okay? Not attorney, not giving legal advice. Do not take it as such, people. Alright? Don't care to be attorney. This is a exercise of our learning abilities. We're not just looking straight forward. We're always looking around us, be able to protect ourselves by any means necessary. Attorneys will not use this. Come on. To benefit you. Okay? It's, I guess, too simple. Alright? I could be wrong. Why else would there be courts for 5 to 20 years, right, when it's unnecessary? Is it because attorneys made everything simple? No. Okay? Alright, let's proceed forward on this bill of attainder. Administrative law, been the exact same thing. Under my opinion, not giving legal advice.
Alright, let's continue here. Alright. Professor offers evidence. Matthew Manweller, an instructor of political science at the University of Oregon, Eugene, has made available on the internet a paper entitled, "Can a Reparations Package Be a Bill of Attainder?" In the paper, he defines bills of attainder in detail, using his findings to argue that a congressional act to pay money damages to any specific group is, in fact, a bill of attainder upon all who pay taxes. His thread of logic presents an argument that justifies viewing the federal income tax laws and other punitive administrative laws as bills of attainder. If federal income tax laws are not a collection of bills of attainder, you then must find those laws. 1. Are not put into place by legislative action. 2. Providing for no penalty or punishment. And 3. Applying no named person or group. The answer is obvious. Manweller explains that the courts have established a test for future attainder cases. In United States versus Lovett, 1946, later confirms in U.S. versus Brown, cited above. The court determined that a bill of attainder is 1. An act of legislature, 2. Inflicting punishment, and 3. Applying to named individuals or easily ascertainable groups who, 4. Have not been first brought to trial. Sounds pretty clear. Are these arguments making sense to anyone out there, or is this kind of, are we just swinging at windmills here, as they would say?
And I'm not giving legal advice, but sit and think about this. Due to the officer claiming there's probable cause that he cannot make legal determination of, you go to jail first, not court. This is the reason why I tell you guys a while back on other videos, right? You to demand more than 3 times. Tell the officer to take you directly to the magistrate before jail, right? You went to jail before even a court. And then they want you to bond out. What? Bond out? Is that not a bill of attainder? It's just a question. I don't know.
I'm going to continue here. I'm assuming we're still transmitting here in the YouTube universe. You guys can just hit something in the chat or something to let me know everything's still coming through. It seems like it is here on this end, on the Stream Health side. I'm going to continue. All right, we got some people there. Hey, is that O'Shea? All right, Mr. O'Shea, welcome. Welcome to you, the world famous. This is the world famous Brian O'Shea here. So we are privileged to have amongst us. All right, let me continue here. Is it disloyal for us to expect government to obey the U.S. Constitution? Has Congress put in place, 1, codes and regulations that 2. would cause you to be charged interest or to be fined if 3. you are viewed as a member of the group called taxpayer without 4. applying that tax to you after trial and jury verdict. If so, Congress violates the U.S. Constitution when it asks you to pay income tax. We might protest that we want to support the government. Perhaps you do not object to paying taxes. That is a noble attitude. However, is it noble for us to ignore government violations of the U.S. Constitution? Should we expect government to be subject to the U.S. Constitution, or do you prefer living in a nation ruled by men rather than by law? Or I'd rather say being ruled by fools rather than rules. Do we want government to operate within written law? Or do we prefer tyranny managed by the whim of men? We need to support government operating within constitutional limits. Manueller refines the definition by adding 3 more prongs. He explains that to determine whether a law is a bill of attainder, according to currently existing case law, one must determine 1. whether the challenged statute falls within the historical meaning of legislative punishment. 2. whether the statute, viewed in terms of the type and severity of burdens imposed, reasonably can be said to further non-punitive legislative purposes. And 3. whether the legislative record evinces a congressional intent to punish. That's from McMullen in District 2. Right. In summary, the 3 tests that must be applied are historical, functional, motivational. So 1, whether the challenged statute falls within the historical meaning of legislative punishment, bills of attainder, right? Legislative punishment is one of the elements. 2, and that'd be the historical. 2, whether the statute, viewed in terms of the type and severity of burdens imposed, reasonably can be said to further non-punitive legislative purposes, right? Meaning that the money is not being used for anything punitive. That's functional, right? So the functional terms that they're using it for their own revenue generating, not because you're making paying back something that you took. And 3, motivational. Let's see, for 3 is whether the legislative record evinces a congressional intent to punish. So there you go. Congressional intent to punish is your motivation for it, right? The intention. So the historical, the functional, and the intentional, the motivational.
So in short right there, y'all, when the cops are cruising around looking for speeders, isn't that motivational? To hand out tickets, to support the government body, right?
So this little paragraph here kind of gives you a good idea of how you can challenge these things in a very reasonable way without even having to bring up these case laws, because you're understanding the basic intention of our founders' Constitution. So let's continue. The historical test. Ask if a law takes away property, money, or perhaps inflicts other dread consequences, sometimes sought by England's kings. If so, it passes a historical test. It may be a bill of attainder. Okay, check 1. Check 2, functional test. Citing Nixon versus Administrator of General Services, Manueller concludes that the functional test is passed even if the bill does not impose a historical punishment. One must ask, is its function designed to punish in other respects? Any congressman will confess that the income tax does not fund government except to relieve the federal government from paying unnecessary interest on the federal debt to those privately owned Federal Reserve banks. Senators and representatives will admit that the reason for continuing the income tax is to allow Congress to do social engineering. An official bulletin issued by the Internal Revenue Service criticized this practice. Issued by the U.S. Department of the Treasury September 26, 2006, a comprehensive strategy for reducing the tax gap. The document complains of provisions created to meet social policy goals. These targeted provisions, which themselves are growing increasingly complicated, divert IRS resources from basic compliance efforts. Congress keeps the income tax in force in order to tweak the economy at will, favoring some groups and punishing others, while irritating even the IRS in the process. Thus, the income tax passes the functional test. It punishes a defined group without first securing judgment by a jury, as do countless other administrative laws. Are those laws bills of attainder? Now we go to the motivational test. Manweller explains. We're all following along here. Man, my chat, I'll have to keep it open on the phone here because I keep losing it over there. We're all good? Cool. All right. I think we're all right now. One more. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Looks good. All right. Manweller explained.
All right. Let's go ahead and pause it there. And the reason why I'm doing this is for my benefit. Okay. For nobody else's. However, I'll put it on YouTube for my benefit. And if you guys want to use my benefit as well, it's out there for y'all. Okay. I'm not making any money off this anyway. Now, if you want to hear the full course of this without my interruptions, let's go to the tribe. Okay. All right. This with People News. Till next time. Bye.